Now that we installed, hopefully successfully, Houdini 19, the next thing you should do is go to your desktop, and you should be able to see your Houdini shortcut somewhere on your desktop. Now I like to have my desktop clean, so in my case here, so I will just double click on the icon, and then I will fire up my Houdini. Now, if you are starting your Houdini for the first time, you will get a few pop-up windows that you need to handle. The first one actually will be your license administrator. So it will look like this. Now, because I already logged in, I am not prompt to license administrator first, but you will. So the first thing you need to do, you just need to go under the file and make sure that you are logged in this license administrator with the account you created on SideFX site. So the email needs to be correct, because if you purchased your license, like Indie license, with the email that you're used for registering on SideFX website, then once you're logged in here, the license administrator will know that you purchased the license, and basically it will activate entitlement, and you will be able to run your Houdini Indie. In case you didn't buy anything, you will be entitled with apprentice license, and yeah, you will not need to do anything else. Just make sure that you're logged in, and that's it. And after you accomplish that successfully, hopefully, then you will be getting these. So the first one is this anonymous user statistics, which you can choose to participate or not. In my case, I really don't care. If this helps SideFX to know where they need to focus their development, then yeah, sure, why not? I'll press OK, and that's it. The second pop-up window that you'll get is this one, where basically you will get some of the content or links of the content that SideFX is offering. So if you want to check their tutorials, or maybe content library, or SideFX Labs tools, which we installed previously, you can go there and check those too. But usually I just, if I don't want this window to pop up every time I fire up Houdini, I will just uncheck this, go on startup, and close it. With this one, you just can minimize or just close, both are fine. So the next thing I usually do is I basically change my UI, and there is a good reason why. In this case, for me, because I'm using 4K monitor, the things are just too small, and it just becomes pain to read all the text, whatnot, even follow some of the icons. So I usually go under the edit, and then under general settings or preferences, I would usually, when I have my custom layout, which we will build prior to doing some modeling, I would usually set it up to be set as startup from here. Right now it's set to default, which is a build layout. And then for the play bar UI, this guy here, I make sure it's set to compact, because this one takes a bit much space, so compact will make it a bit smaller, so that you have a bit more real estate on your monitor. And in my case, with this setting, icon size and layout, I choose large because I'm using high DPI monitor. And for global UI scale, I usually make it 165. And here you can see how icons are changing and what size they will be, also with the text. So usually that is what works for me. So I would press apply. And in this case, I will just exit, discard, and it. Then fire up quickly my Houdini Indie again. And hopefully you will see the change. or you will see the change, but hopefully you notice the change. So now that I can see something's better, you can also notice that play bar is quite smaller. The next thing I will change is here. So here we're not gonna change anything else. Here we're not gonna change anything else either. From here, okay, nothing. Here, nothing. Takes, animation, lighting, rendering, nothing. And then under the handles, I will make sure that translate handle is set to map drag axis, which basically, if I now press apply, which basically gives me the opportunity, or basically change how I drag things around the viewport. And to demonstrate this, I will simply add a cube or box in Houdini case to the viewport and activate either the handle or a move tool, and start using middle mouse button to translate or move this box. So it will take a bit time until you actually get used to it, because you need to be under the certain angle to actually move the correct axis that you actually want. So, and the difference is, if I put this to default, is if I now use my middle mouse button and wanna move this object, this box, basically you get the free movement. It's not constrained on any of the axes. So in this case, I would have to hover over the axis with my mouse and move it like this, which I usually don't want. So I make sure that this translate handle is set to map drag, and then apply, and then see here. Now, if I want to move this box freely, I just hover over this gizmo, this little gizmo box, and then I move it. Okay, I apply this, and from what I know is everything from here. Under interactive tool, also nothing. Now under the object and geometry, what I usually do is I set this default context creation. I set it to create in the context. What this do is basically, if we are creating radial menu, if we are creating a box and we are inside of this node, geometry node, which contains this box object, this box geometry, if I now go and add, let's say, tube, enter, or right mouse button and then finish. In this case, because I didn't apply, so basically, okay, when this setting is set to create at object level, this happens. So anytime I am creating a new object, this object will be created outside of geometry node, which in my case, 99% of the cases I don't want. So what I do, I make sure that I change this default context creation to be create in context by default, press apply. Now I again need to restart Houdini for this to actually be set as default. So I will go here under this icon and make sure that this is set create in the context. And now if I go and create a grid, press finish. Now I can see that this grid is created inside the geometry node that I'm currently in, and it is created beside the sphere I created previously. So that's the difference. Now, because there is unfortunately a bug right now with the poly extrude, and basically this setting, I'm using this reference instead of this one, and I'm making sure that when I starting the modeling session that I always go to this icon and then manually set create in context, and then things will work. Hopefully side effects will fix this soon enough and I will be able to use this as default, because then I don't have to manually change these settings every time when I'm entering in. So for this one, we still need to uncheck this secure selection on by default, because out these stay with the box. So if I go inside and if I go in my selection mode right now, let's go to the point most. Right now, if I select a point and then press E, R, or T to basically scale, rotate, or translate, or move this point, yeah, no problem, I can do that. But now if I want to select maybe another component or another point, I cannot, because this keylog or secure selection basically prevents me to do this. I guess this is just like a safety feature where, you know, maybe when you're working with a selection, you maybe don't want to select anything else or whatever. But in our case, we will set this off by default. So make sure that you uncheck this feature. And now you can see that I can basically really select, deselect any point, which is very important for our direct modeling sessions. So pretty much that would be it from here. Make sure it's set under apply, and then here motion and audio nothing, compositing nothing, scripting nothing, desktop and toolbar. Now here you can choose if you want to save your desktop automatically, which basically means if you change anything in your layout and you exit the Houdini, then if this is checked, then Houdini will remember the last UI that you used and overwritten anything you had previously. So usually I don't use this because I always want my own default layout, even if I change something while I'm working. So yeah, you can, it's up to you what you want to do with. And now here, this is another important settings. Basically, you are deciding how to save your files. So in my case, what I'm usually using is I will set this to overwrite file or increment file, which basically if you press Ctrl and S, then it will either overwrite, so Ctrl S to save in your viewport, default in any 3D application or any other programs. If you set this to overwrite file, then Ctrl S will always overwrite your file that you're working on. But just for the safety measures, just use increment file name, and then every time you press Ctrl S, Houdini will save another increment of that file. Or you can choose to make number backup, which will create backup folder for your session and then save all the files in the backup folder. And then you also have your automatic scene save, which you can put, I usually put under 5 minutes, and I'm making sure it is this setting, which makes a number backup, so it will create a folder for you in the background and it will automatically save it. File. But in this case, I'm using increment file name just because I prefer this. So for this one, all you need Here nothing, and then under notifications I put this notification area and help tip area all to be in my status bar, which basically it will move all the notification from here and put it under here. So as you can see, I applied the setting, and now under the, and when I'm hovering over the viewport, I'm activate. Move is activated. You can see that now this notification that was here previously is now. I just don't like to be interrupted. I just like my viewport to be clean. Here I don't do anything. Here, and then yeah, here you can again choose to send anonymous user statistic or not. And if you have maybe multiple GPUs, you can here choose which GPU you want Houdini to use. So regarding the preference settings, guys, that would be it. And in the next tutorial, guys, the next lesson, I will show you how I create my own UI, and then from there we should be good to go and start with the modeling. So guys, make sure to stay safe and see you in the next lesson.